So today I thought I would vlog a little bit of my experience attending a genre film festival. So this is going to be a little bit different than my regular videos, as it's documenting the trip and a little bit of a different stream of consciousness about that experience. But I think it would be interesting for filmmakers, and if you're someone who's made a film going to international festivals, or someone who's made a film and wants to go to international festivals just to see what it's like. Early October, my new short horror film, New Followers, had its Australian premiere at Melbourne's Monsterfest. A fantastic genre festival that has been going for 13 years, which actually features screenings right across Australia for upcoming genre films with an eclectic mix of grindhouse, indie DIY, and more traditional popular horror films. My film, New Followers, was fortunate enough to be premiering there as part of their short film showcase, and I decided to fly over from New Zealand to attend in person. Here's a quick teaser for the short.
If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Did you hear that? Aubrey!
I would have done this.
I'm going back.
Oh my God! Ah!
Now, I could only make it over for half of the festival, as my film was also having its premiere in New Zealand before Monsterfest ends, but it still gave me the opportunity to see some great horror films and see some of the sights of Melbourne. So whenever I go to a festival, I just try and absorb as much as I can of the city that I'm in and sort of explore and digest a little bit of the culture. So my day started off with an early flight out from Auckland to Melbourne, as this is an international flight. So I travel as a Koru member, which is essentially like a frequent flyer card that lets me through the check-in process via an express check-in and security lane, and then sort of entry into the Koru lounge while waiting for my flight with Wi-Fi and all you can eat and drink buffet, which is very dangerous. Once upon a time, I could have never justified the cost of being a Koru member, but now I've done so much international travel centered around filmmaking in the last year and a half, it feels 100% worth it. Technically, you need to be at an international flight 3 hours beforehand, and then it's a 4-hour flight, and then a 30-minute bus ride into Melbourne Central, and a casual 40-minute walk to my not quite hotel. So it means that I've been traveling for essentially 9 hours before I actually arrive at the festival and the opening night. And the first night screening had drinks at the bar and the premiere of The Rule of Jenny Penn, which is an excellent new film by fellow New Zealand filmmaker James Ashcroft, who also did the remarkable Coming Home in the Dark, which the Monster distribution arm released. Now, the film is insanely good and absolutely chilling, with amazing performances by Jeffrey Rush and John Lithgow. Plus, it was endorsed by Stephen King. So come on. The film won at Fantastic Fest, and you can absolutely see why. As the first night in Melbourne, this was a great night to chat with the festival organisers and fellow filmmakers. A lot of the time, the best thing about a festival will be that people are legitimately appreciative and respectful of your film, whereas especially if you make genre films, that appreciation isn't always there from the general public. You know, people know you make films, they understand it's difficult, but they don't understand. But at a festival, you're surrounded by fellow filmmakers and people who 100% get it. In a very thankless industry, you meet people who say, "Thank you for making this. We really enjoyed it and we're excited to showcase it." And I can't stress how beneficial and therapeutic this can be after the general indifference most people meet your film with. So If nothing else, the festivals are a place where your art is not only recognized, acknowledged, but also celebrated. And after making many films that are met by a wall of meh by the general public, including possibly your friends and loved ones, the boost that festivals can give you, the inspiration and rejuvenation they offer to galvanize you into pursuing the next insurmountable, crazy, out there film project that seems impossible to make, is actually a vital part of the filmmaking process. Day 2 of the festival was Terrifier Day at the Fest, one of their biggest, as all the Terrifier movies were being screened, including the brand new Xmas-themed Terrifier 3. If you're a Terrifier fan, this absolutely delivers all the terrifying traits you've come to expect and ups the ultraviolence to some new heights. And Art the Clown is as hilarious and violent as ever, with some particularly funny moments centered around an apparent infatuation with jolly old Saint Nick. During the day was an opportunity for me to wander Melbourne before the screening started in the evening. I got to check out the local Carlton Market, the peaceful Carlton Gardens, and the Melbourne Museum, which is absolutely epic in size and scope. Highly recommend a trip to the museum if you're in Melbourne, as there's so much to see. Melbourne is an arts and culture hub, and the sense of that culture is everywhere and infectious. The Italian Festival was also taking place right across from the museum, and I got to eat my body weight in some of the amazing street food available. Day 3 at the festival was mainly a film day, and I got to watch the Trashorama short film selection curated by filmmaker Dick Dale, who curates the most interesting, out there, grindhouse style shorts into a bizarre but excellent compilation. No doubt a yearly highlight of the festival. I also watched Hellboy and the Crooked Man, a much more traditional horror-inspired version of Hellboy than we've yet seen, which was very enjoyable and stylistically beautiful to watch. But perhaps the highlight of the day was Legend of Ninja, a documentary by filmmaker Alex Leopold, which documents his journey to Ghana to witness and participate in the Nollywood film scene, where feature films are made for the princely sum of $50, and you truly get to witness and be reminded of what a burning passion for filmmaking really means. This featured an intro and Q&A by Alex, who was there to discuss the film and talk about the Kickstarter for his own film he intends to film in collaboration with that Ghana film crew. The documentary centered around Nollywood, the Ghana equivalent of Hollywood, and is fascinating. And Alex is clearly cut from the same cloth as many DIY indie filmmakers, striving to make the most interesting films on the fringes of the industry. And I'll leave a link to his Kickstarter in the description. Day 4 was a free day, as no screenings were taking place at Monsterfest, and this was my opportunity to really get the most Melbourne experiences possible. And the great thing about Melbourne City is everything is so close, so you can visit many of the most interesting landmarks within a day, which is exactly what I aim to do. Now, there are 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and Melbourne having epic coffee spots. There are so many eateries and coffee shops, it can be pretty tricky to even narrow it down, but in my experience, almost all of them do good coffee. Some of them do world-class coffee. There are a lot of cafes with character and a great spot to relax and do a bit of writing over a brew. My journey took me to Fitzroy Gardens, Parliament House, and St. Patrick's Cathedral. From there, I wandered into Melbourne CBD, where I checked out the Art Centre showcasing Moving Image, which documents some of the history of film, video, and gaming, which I highly recommend and enjoyed. Then it was on to the National Gallery of Victoria, which was just across the Yarra River. The NGV is amazing. So much diverse artwork to see from multiple areas of the globe, spanning multiple eras. Absolutely fascinating stuff. Not sure about the big thumb outside the front of it, but make sure you give yourself plenty of time to get through the deceptively large building and all of the varied exhibitions. And then there's Eureka Tower. Now, I'm not sure if it's the tallest building in Melbourne, but it has to be one of the tallest. And here you can get panoramic views of the entirety of Melbourne City in almost every direction. And this is a beautiful spot to look down on some of those areas that you've wandered through. And if you're smart, head up about 30 minutes before sunset and watch the sun go down on Melbourne. There's nothing quite like it. Hosier Lane or Graffiti Lane is also worth wandering through. It's like a rainbow paint bucket was airdropped onto the street and exploded across the alleyway, resulting in a bunch of wonderful graffiti artwork. Walking through the CBD is pretty amazing. There's a mix of old buildings and new buildings, and somehow they manage to complement each other. For such a thriving city, the streets are not too busy and everything is very clean. You feel safe wandering them at night, searching for a bar or restaurant. And when night falls over the city, it really takes on a different vibe. And after a solid 10 kilometers of wandering, I ended the night with some takeaways and passed out. Now, day 5, midway through the festival, but my final day for me, and this was the screening of my film New Followers, which was playing as part of the short film block that evening. I got to catch up with Grant Hardie, the festival director, with the opportunity to talk to him a little bit about the festival. So, welcome along to the Savage Filmmaker. Now, I'm here at Monsterfest 2024. I am with Grant Hardie, who is the festival director.
Yep.
/ founder.
Founder, director, owner, main guy.
Okay, so
head programmer.
How did the festival start?
Look, it was as simple as, I sat down with my business partner, Neil. We said, look, we're going to start a distribution company. We wanted to do a horror specialist distribution company. That was 2010.
Yep.
Or 2009, we started planning it. And in our business plan, we had start a film festival. And we did.
Okay, now what makes Monsterfest different to other genre festivals?
I think, look, I don't know what the main difference is. I mean, I think the big one is we do it nationally. Yep. So we have our flagship event here in Melbourne. And then at the same time, we run festivals all around, like Adelaide, Sydney, Brisbane and Perth. We also have what we call Monsterfest Presents, which is where they can be our films, they can be other licensors' films. So we use the festival as a banner to do event screenings, and that can be sometimes up to 100 screens. So nice. It's a brand as well as a festival.
And so what started your love of genre?
Look, I have to blame my mum. I mean, she, I was a kid, I was just fascinated with films and, my mum really nurtured it. And, back when I was young, a lot of the Hammer horrors used to play on late night TV. And I think Mum knew I snuck up and watched them, but she just never said anything. So, I'd be up on Friday and Saturday night as a kid, with the TV down really low, hoping no one was going to bust me watching Hammer horrors and all sorts of other horror films, those 70s classics. And then one year we were in a department store and I saw this book and it was the classic book of horror movies, and I just picked it up and I was like, oh, I'm in. And she bought it for me for Christmas that year. And then she was great. Every film I wanted to go and see, she'd take me to see. So I remember I saw things like The Shining, The Howling, even Blood Beach. She'd just take me. Yeah. And then my nan would also take me to the drive-in. We knew that Nan when she would take us, she'd fall asleep within, before the start of the first credits would roll. So, no matter what happened on screen, she would, swearing, anything that she wouldn't approve of, she'd sleep through it anyway. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, there's rapid fire questions.
Yes.
Favorite film of this year's festival?
Favourite Chainsaws were singing?
Okay. Favorite Monsterfest festival film of all time?
It'd be one that we didn't do per se in the festival, but we did do it as a Monsterfest Presents nationwide screening, and that was Mandy.
Mandy. Okay, yeah, I remember Mandy. Top 5 horror films or genre films of all time for you?
Okay, Wicker Man, Mad Max 2, The Thing, Alien.
Alien.
No, Alien.
Okay.
Sorry, Is that 4?
That's 4.
Geez. And I'm going to say Mandy.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, and final question. For those like filmmakers, genre filmmakers, or people that want to get into a festival like Monsterfest, what is it that you as a programmer are sort of looking for when you're looking for films? Like, what catches your eye?
Look, it doesn't necessarily have to be the highest production values. I look for, if you can see a lot of heart and definitely a grasp of what they're trying to say, what's influenced them. A lot of low budget films can make the mistake of just not putting enough work into casting them properly. So if you can see, if I see that, you've really tried to, cast it correctly, because as we know, a performance can completely ruin a film. So, just intelligence in making the decisions that you can, working within that very limited budget. That's what I look for.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Grant, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Guy.
Thank you so much for being part of the vlog. Thank you so much for having me be part of the festival. So we're at Monsterfest. It's time for the premiere. New followers, along with a whole bunch of other awesome shorts. Gutbusters shorts. Heaps of people here. Amazing to see. And I think it's going to be cool. Very excited.
This year has definitely been the best crop of short films that we've ever had submitted. So much so that we had to create a couple more extra short sessions than we usually do. All the way from New Zealand, we've got Guy Pigton, director of the New Followers.
It was wonderful to see my new short for the first time in a cinema playing to a really receptive audience. And regardless of where you intend to release your film, whether it's just online or whatever, on your YouTube channel, seeing it on the big screen is always special and something you should try and experience at least once. I also got a chance to catch up with a few old friends who came to see some of the standout films along with my own short, Liam and Hamish.
That's right. Yeah. There's been a lot. I've seen Guy evolve through, a decade plus of filmmaking. Well, actually, more like 20 years. So, It's getting scary now. It's crazy to see. And I came in completely fresh on this one. All I knew was that they'd shot a film in the Milford Sound and thought it was low budget. Learned 5 minutes before I saw it. That was a big budget. But you can see on the screen, the love and dedication to the craft that's gone into this one.
And we finished the night off with a few drinks catching up, but a few drinks turned into quite a few drinks, and it ended up being a pretty big night and a pretty big hangover. And then it was time to check out and time for one last wander through Melbourne CBD, rather hungover, to try some of the famous croissants at Loon, which are certainly world class. And then back to the airport and back to New Zealand, arriving back in Auckland after midnight. My festival experience was fantastic, as was my Melbourne experience. Monsterfest is an amazing genre festival, one that is worth making the trip for. If you get into a good festival, spend the money you don't have to take yourself there. It's a great acknowledgement of all the care and love we put into our films with like-minded filmmakers and festival organisers who share your passion. and you'll make new friends, some of whom might even end up helping you on your next film. And you never know where the next collaboration might spring from. So, I know it's not the typical suggestion, but I say max out that credit card and make the trip to celebrate your film if you're lucky enough to be selected for a festival somewhere that could take you on a new adventure. And just to cap things off, as I return home to New Zealand to premiere my short at another festival, I was informed that New Followers had actually won Best International Film at Monsterfest, which was another huge honour, completely unexpected and very humbled. If only I'd stuck around for the final night, but such is life. I'm just happy to be part of the conversation. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you're a filmmaker, I hope that our paths cross at the next awesome genre festival. As always, I am the Savage Filmmaker, and I'll see you when I see you. Maybe even at a festival together.